Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Today, I wanted to share with you one of the most moving and inspiring matching stories I have ever heard. I'm really excited to share with you the story of Diane and Ilya, how they met, and more importantly, how they managed to find each other, even though they come from completely different worlds, different cultures, different universes, and managed to somehow become open minded, realize their limitations, and find each other and allow God to work through their process, through their blessing to find each other. And now they're in the process of creating a really, truly remarkable blessing and marriage. And they're in the process of helping other people do the same. It's really beautiful. I asked them if we could share this here on YouTube, and they gracefully allowed us to. So please give them some love in the comments of this video for Diane and Ilya. And also, if you're new here, welcome to the channel. This is really where we talk about everything, the blessing, how to prepare well for the blessing, how to prepare well for the matching process and get through the matching process. So if this video is helpful, do give it a thumbs up so that more people can find it. Also subscribe, because why not? I mean, this is the only place on the internet where we're talking about this kind of stuff. So we're making these videos just for you guys because we're just trying to help you every way we can. All right. So please enjoy this epic story. Thanks for watching. Take care.
My name is Ilya. I'm 24 years old. I'm half American, half Japanese, and I'm married to the beautiful person over there, Diane Kalalu, and she's from New York. We got blessed this past February and officially started talking last 2019 in April. And yeah, I was called in today because I wanted to, I was asked to kind of share a little bit about my vision and how my vision for the blessing and matching, and also the fact that we're also interracial marriage too. I wanted to share a little bit about that as well. So yeah, so yes, sorry, I'm getting nervous now. But
You got this.
so yeah, this story actually started 2 years before I started talking with Diane, and at that time I did the self-reflection thing that Mrs. Gullry talked about, and I kind of found out that out of all the points, I actually, yeah, I didn't want to go to matching that year. I thought I was confident, didn't make it through. Well, I didn't want to make it through it in the end. And so I said to God, I was like, hey, God, I don't think I'm ready. I have a lot of things to work on. Get back to me in 2 years and we'll talk about it again. And so, yeah, this moment, I was actually in CARP Las Vegas for this majority of time, and in 2017 is when I made the determination. So I said I was gonna get back to him in 2019. Yeah. So the fact of being in CARP actually was a great opportunity for me, because not only do I have time to like work on myself, but also we had events like matching education and blessing education. And so it kind of emphasized how big this relationship, a relationship is in front of God. And it really kind of sunk in to me what the blessing meant. And yeah, so somewhere on the line, I was kind of made to put like a picture of, like a mental picture of how I should see my wife, or what kind of wife I would like to be married to. Sounds interesting, but I just made the small standard of saying that I wanted to be married to someone that's inside the church, bottom line. And in those cases, I don't want to be married and not actually work on myself. So I had to be a good husband, a good church member, and find a way to become a person that could be a good support. And I'm really grateful for what Miss Gullery said, because I think all of those things, without even knowing it, I think those are the perfect kind of gauges to see if you're ready, because those are the exact gauges I ended up using. And so I'm really grateful for Mrs. Gullery, so thank you. But yeah, at the time I didn't want to slack off in any of those kind of categories, so I started to really work on all the education that I needed. And so from there, I kept going, kept moving, kept working on myself. And after a while, you get the question from your friends, from your family members, ooh, what race do you want to marry? Like, which one are you thinking of? Are you thinking of yellow, white, black, purple, you know? But I was trained to that. And I was trained for a long time to, I should be okay with anybody. You know, like father always told me to, for father said you should be able to be married to any kind of thing, and even like a shovel or something, you know? And I said, okay, I guess any is okay. The funny thing was, I thought that I wouldn't. Well, at least the one race I don't think I'm going to be able to handle, maybe the strength of, is actually a black woman. Um, Especially since I was a very sensitive guy at the time of, at that time. And so I kind of rolled with that. I think every single question that was asked to me about what race I wanted to marry, I kept saying that. That was my go-to kind of thing. I was like any, but maybe not black. And so yeah, I really kind of rolled with that. But after a while, my mom finally asked me that question about a year later, in 2018. And I was like, yeah, any except for maybe black. And at that moment, I was like, should I really be saying that? What if I met the person that God prepared for me, and just because she was a different skin color, I decided to say no. And just because I wasn't comfortable with kind of like the culture that I'm not used to, and I say no, how am I really, what am I really saying to God, I guess you can say. And it wasn't really humanistic at one point, but I was really kind of seeing it through God's eyes. If I really saw it through God's eyes, I should be able to see, no matter the race or no matter the culture, that's still God's daughter. And from that point, I made that determination that I should be really, truly okay with what Father said, like what true parents said, is that be able to marry interracially, and it doesn't matter which race it is, and really be able to marry God's daughter that He has prepared for me, and I should be ready and open for that. So, funny thing happened. I think when you make a determination in front of God, God takes it all in, and he is happy to work with whatever you said. I mean, yeah, he basically worked with me and prepared me specifically for Diane, and I know this now. But I became more spiritual, to a point that I feel like I was very kind of close to Diane's spirituality when I met her, and I became more confident in the way I talk, and also kind of all the points that yeah, really kind of makes me like a better husband for her specifically. And the closest friend that I actually became to in CARP was a black brother, and it was actually the culture that I got so much more used to, the culture that I thought I was uncomfortable with in the first place. And he more or less became my best friend. And by the end of 2018, I was chatting with him, and he said, "Hey, man, I think you're gonna marry a black woman." And I was like, "I am pretty sure you're right. I think God is setting you up with a black woman." I was like, "Yep, yeah, I think that's exactly what's happening." So the 2 years ended, and I promised God that I'll talk to him again. I was like, okay, I'll talk to you again. Let's do this. Let's talk about the matching. And so I went forward with the prayer condition, and so I went forward with the prayer condition. I looked into myself and saw that I was really became a lot more mature than 2 years ago. I became a person that was ready to open up, and also really accept and be ready to accept and forgive, even though this person might be somebody that's not that I'm used to. At this point, of course, I didn't know I was going to marry Diane or talk to Diane, but I was kind of looking into myself, self-reflecting, and seeing that I was really ready for kind of like the process in front of me. And so at the very end of that prayer condition, I was like, okay, God, do you have someone in mind? Do you have somebody that you want me to talk to? And for some reason, Diane's name did not pop out of my head. Kind of just stuck like super glue. And it didn't come out. I was just like, okay, you're giving me this name. I barely know her. I have no feelings, but If this is the name you have given me, I want to be able to check it out, right? I want to be able to see who you're talking about. And I took that moment, gave that name to my parents, and I really think that God was working in that moment, because when I gave that name to my parents, and then we started talking on April. And she was in New York, I was in Vegas. This is long distance, kind of hard. I'll tell you that right now. If you're thinking of a long distance relationship, it's hard. But in those cases, we had to do a Zoom call. And at this moment, I was unsure. I didn't know who she was. And, you can go on a Zoom call, fake it, leave, and be fine. So I didn't know if she was faking it. I was in that moment making that kind of assumption that I don't really know her yet. And so the time came when she actually did want to come to Vegas for witnessing, and that should have been the yes right there. But it wasn't. She came over to witness in Las Vegas, and she came over to witness in Las Vegas, and the moment that I think that I decided that I wanted to marry her was the day that I realized God gave me more than I asked for. God gave me a person that was truly prepared, and really a person that I can talk spiritually with, a person that I can talk normally with, and really someone that I can connect to truly, and through God, not just like us horizontally, but really through God. And we're not perfect. I think we argue a lot, but for the bottom lines and stuff like that, it was all exceeded, and God really kind of gave me all of that. And in conclusion, I need to wrap this up a little bit because it's running out of time. But I'm glad I gave the parameters for God to work and put the time frame for myself to get back to it, telling God that this is what's up and this is what I want to do. Thank you for listening. And it really helped him work and helped me work my hardest and his hardest to make this happen. And I'm really glad that I was able to open my heart to God's words and kind of ignore the race and really see God's daughters through his eyes. And I also heard the reason I brought up interracial marriage, of course, was also I heard there was a survey. Then there was men do struggle. Men of different race do struggle with marrying a Black woman, and for the same reasons as but I can really tell that kind of thinking is wrong, because I feel like we should be really open up the doors for everything that we see. And I see that this relationship open up the doors for what God sees in people around. And I feel like this relationship was one of the biggest ones for me, and one of the biggest ones ever, because it's really mending kind of two cultures together that I think is fighting in America, to be honest. But I think this kind of relationship is really kind of breaking those concepts apart and really being able to mend humanity here. And I think I can really testify that really gave us a blessing to be able to receive rings from Mother. So I just want to end it at that. I'm just really grateful that kind of God set me up and God set us up for kind of like a lot of blessings, and a lot of ups and downs, but definitely blessings. So I just want to pass it on to my beautiful wife, Diane, and she's going to take over from you.
Oh, honey. Thank you. Wow, I don't even know what to say. So growing up, the blessing was something that I always thought about. I would talk to my parents about it, and I would tell them Mom, when I grow up, I want to receive the blessing, and I want that person to be very spiritual. So when I turned, I think I was 16, I decided to do a condition for my blessing, a 5-year condition that I was going to do. So when I started the condition, I decided to read True Parents' words on the blessing and how important it was. And what it means to be blessed. And I came across something that Father was basically talking about interracial marriages, and how we need to mend, like, Father, like how he used to talk the east, the west, south and north, and mend all the season together, something like that. And I mean, the conclusion was to really, like, to let God lead us and to marry beyond our culture, our race, or like even our character or religion. And so thinking about that, I decided, I was like, I want to marry someone who's, different from my culture or from my race. So I told my parents about it, and my parents, they were open. So they were like, oh, okay, that's something great. But yeah, throughout those 5 years, I kind of, like Ilya said, I wanted to prepare myself. And like Aunt Debbie said, I think it's very important to have this personal reflection on yourself before you actually go to the blessing. I kind of wanted to know who I was first before I married this person. And I wanted to know, how can I love myself and love God first before I love my future husband. So then in 2019, my condition ended in 2018. So in 2019, I told God that I was ready. After 5 years, I think that's 5 years, right? Yeah. I'm not really good at math, but 2018, I believe, that's when I ended my condition, and I told God that, like, I'm ready to receive this person, and I am, I'm open to anything. But spirituality was more important to me, like more than anything else, just like Ilya. I wanted someone who can, support me, someone we can pray together and, really do church activities together. And of course I received it. So, yeah. And then in 2019, suddenly I went to TribeNet the first time in Las Vegas. And that's when I met Ilya for the first time. I mean, I didn't have any feelings for him back then. Or even thinking of him as like my future husband, because I went there for a workshop. So I was just, thinking about the workshop. But then later on, when Ilya reached out to me, I was excited. I was like, oh, I finally have this person that, God is sending me. After all my preparation, I was finally able to receive him. And the first time we talked, I think it was the third time or fourth time we talked, I kind of had these challenges and struggles that I was going through. I was kind of worried because I'm African. I was kind of worried that like maybe my culture might be different. I don't know if he's going to be able to accept my culture. Even though it's something that I wanted, I was still going through struggles that we all go through, not just the race part or the culture part, but also the character. Because I am very emotional. Like I cry about everything. Like everything I cry about. But then Ilya, he can be emotional sometimes, but he's more intellectual. So for me, I was like, I don't know if he's gonna handle my emotions. So I was thinking about all these things, and I finally, when I reflected, like Aunt Debbie said, I think reflection or self-reflection is very important, because that's when you actually really can heal yourself or understand, like be aware of what's happening within you. So I started reflecting, and I was thinking, I said, I'm not really thinking based on God's viewpoint. I was just thinking about the physical or thinking about what might go wrong, but I wasn't really thinking what does God think about this. So I decided to go to my parents, and like any answers we always get, my parents told me you should pray about it. So I was like, yeah, I should pray about it. So I went on and prayed about it. And like Ilya said, God really works in ways that we cannot see, and as I was praying, something told me to read the same book that I read during my 5-year condition. And when I read, I have this game that I usually do when I pray. I open the book, I close my eyes and just randomly open the book. And the title was, You Must Be Able to Go Over the Hill of the Eyes. So I was like, interesting. Let me read this. Maybe God is trying to tell me something. Then when I read it, it's a long reading, but the main message, I actually wrote it down. The main message was to look at people the way that God looks at them. And Father basically said that when you look at people the way that God looks at them, you can see their true values, and they're more like beautiful, and they shine very brightly. So at that moment, I was like, wow, I didn't think about this. I was looking at this person with my very, very own like human eyes. I should look at him the way that God looks at him. And to be honest with you, when I finally looked at Ilya the way that God sees him, I just fell in love. I was like, I don't care about all the differences. I'm going to marry this person no matter what, because I know that it's God's, will, and I'm going to do it. And so that really just tells you how much, when you think on like God's perspective, when you think based on God's viewpoint, like how much miracles can happen, or how much your relationship with people, not just with your husband, with like even people around you, can change. So yeah, like I truly believe that God prepared Ilya for me all this time, even though I didn't know it, because he has all the qualities that I've prayed for. And I'm not just saying this because I'm here. Like literally, he has all the qualities that I prayed for. And I I feel like if I refused to marry Ilya just because of the difficulties and struggles and or differences in race and culture and character, I wouldn't be here today, right? And like even receiving our rings from True Mother, that's something that I wouldn't be able to accomplish, if I didn't marry this person. So I think I'm running out of time. I don't know. But in conclusion, I think we should embrace anyone, because like I said, by not doing so, we might miss the opportunity that God has in storage for us. So and it's not just about the race. It's not just black and white or Asian and black, whatever. It's also about the character, because sometimes I do know that when you're going through the matching process, you may have like differences in characters, like, oh, this, I'm too emotional. Like I was thinking, like I'm too emotional and he's not, and he might not be able to accept me. And I think Josh said something about like I'm too short, so I don't know if she's gonna accept me. But Josh, I think you'll be fine, first of all. But you should just embrace this person because they're God's children and they're God's son or daughter. And I think that's the most important thing that we should think about when it comes to the blessing. It's really seeing each other through God's eyes. And yeah, I'm really grateful for Ilya and for God for sending me this person that I can pray with and be able to, to just spend my whole life with. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys for listening to our
Thanks so much.
testimony.
Yeah.